Welcome, everyone, to the C-Suite Sales and Marketing Perspectives podcast. I'm Steve McDonald, your host. Today, we've got a phenomenal guest on. We've got Saverio Russo. And Saverio, you're the Chief Operating Officer at the Hemargroup. And I'm going to let you explain a little bit more about the Hemargroup and what you're doing there. But it's interesting, your background is, you're self-professed, you say it's a mix between engineering and art, startup, automotive, cryptocurrency, manufacturing. It's a really good blend in the B2B world. But before we get started here, and our topic today is beyond the product, culture as the competitive advantage these days. And we'll get into that in a big way. But before we do, if you wouldn't mind maybe explaining a little bit more about your background.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve, for having me as a guest on this podcast. So, regarding my background, as I would say perfectly, explained before. Yeah, I like both side of culture. I would say, like from more artistic side and more engineering side. I have a classical background in economics, basically, and then I started right from Adobe, so really high tech, company in Milan actually. And from there on, I just jumped into startups in the automotive and then joined the blockchain wave really the beginning where there was no regulation, no ICOs, things like that. So it was really the beginning of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and things like that. And then I moved to Hemargroup, which is an engineering and production company based in Switzerland. And just to mention also the art side, the artistic side, together with my wife, who we have actually a tour operator, which helps international tourists to get to know better Italy. And we have also exclusive access to, venues and masterpiece. So really help international tourists to know the real Italy. So I'm, a bit in between the artistic side of my personality and the hard stuff, engineering out, things like that.
Fantastic. Well, you mentioned you're at the Hemmer Group and you're an engineering production company. So you manufacture components, you source components from all over the world. The EU is a very competitive marketplace. You've got global competitors. Yet we're talking today about culture as a competitive advantage. Tell me just a little bit about, how does, you know, your role in this company and Europe's manufacturing business maintain a competitive edge versus all this competition?
Absolutely. So as you correctly mentioned, I'm the chief operation officer at Hemargroup. So I'm basically overseeing all the operation from the engineering department and the production department, ensuring that there is, a smooth transition also between the two departments, because actually we work as a third-party manufacturer. So we have, many customers that might be with us at the beginning of their product journey. So just with an idea, startup, something like this. And then we move, slowly, but as fast as possible to the mass production, right? So if they have success in the market. So as I said, this is basically what we do. We do engineering, we do prototyping, industrialization, and mass production in Switzerland. And culture is a very important topic for us because, I think that many people recognize Switzerland as one of the best countries, out there, one of the safest countries, reliable, and all the positive, let's say, adjectives that you can imagine, for Switzerland. And of course, our let's say our pride is to really maintain these kind of qualities inside our brand as Emma Group, right? This is a very important competitive advantage, I would say, that we want to keep because, as you correctly mentioned, of course, we have high competition, particularly from Asian countries. China is the first name that comes to my mind. And of course, we cannot really compete with price because everybody knows, in Switzerland, there are high prices, high salaries, and things like that. But we try to fight back with, quality, high standard levels of our service, and everything, that we, let's say, recognize in the Swiss brand, Swissness brand in whatever, industry. So from luxury watches and in this case, high tech engineering, manufacturing. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how competitive or culture is a competitive advantage for you, like all the way from like, you know, acquiring the right talent, keeping the right talent, right? Customer experience, like how does culture impact your business and transform into a competitive advantage?
Yeah. So to answer your question, I will just gonna be back because on our story, because we are a 50 years old company actually, and we are a family owned business. So already with these two characteristics, we are quite different from the competition. Because usually our competitors are very big, company run by managers. And of course this is already a difference. Of course there are positive and negative aspects of both sides. But I will say that family owned business usually has more is more careful, with the people, the customers, the employees, and things like that, because it's your own property, inheritance from the past. So this is a very big differentiator regarding our competitors for sure. And you can really feel, the care that the owners, the founders put inside, our every aspect of our company. Um, from this side, as you correctly mentioned, culture is more influential, people. So for sure, we try to keep this kind of, culture of a family-owned business inside the company. So it's very clear when we tell to people that we want to keep this nice garden, with only good quality people and so on. And we are a very small group of work. Our engineering team is made of 15 people. Our production team is made of 100 people. So we don't really we are not really big, as a company, but we have 5 production lines, for instance. So we are very efficient, and automatized on the way we do our work. So the big thing that we do is for sure thanks to this, to the owner, which is always here, our offices, and he goes between production and check production, and goes between engineering, check engineering, So you really have this kind of really family feeling, which creates very high quality standards for the customer, and also for the suppliers, because suppliers are very important for our business, and we care. This is, I think, the main difference.
And you mentioned in there, well, you mentioned that you mentioned the customer that impacts the customer. And there was actually a study, and I'd love to talk about this on the podcast and get your thought on it. Because in 2023, so a couple of years ago, McKinsey did a study and they looked at over 400 different highly profitable companies, both B2C and B2B companies. And they found that the number one differentiator, so the biggest competitive advantage that they had was CX, was customer experience. And we all know that happier customer or happier employees, more engaged employees make better product, make better experiences for the customer when they're relating to them. Tell me a little bit about how you see culture internally in your company and how does that translate over to customer experience, a better customer experience?
Yeah, so I will start probably from the end of the last answer, and that we care. This is something very different from our competitors, and I think that the first contact point when a customer enter in a shop, in a business, whatever, it's really if he feels listened to or understood and so on. So this is very very important for us. And I think it's really the how the culture, let's say, translates to the final customer, to the end customer, right? So when we have a new customer, usually we invite him because we are not, a big manufacturing site, spread somewhere, but we're actually, in Ticino area, which is the Italian part of Switzerland, very nice, So usually customers have a little holiday also, so they join both farm and business. And we organize company visits. Any new customer can visit our company. Actually, we really advise that. enforce that probably a bit, but yeah, it's very nice so they can talk actually to people. They talk to employees. They can see also their faces. With building their products. And also they can come. This is a very big advantage because if there are some, of course, can happen some problems. Some supply chain things and so on. They can come to us, visit the company, check together with engineers what was wrong, with the production manager what was wrong, quality and so on. And so this is part, of the customer experience. On the other side, we invested a lot in the industry 4.0 and actually 5.0 in a certain level. We collect a very big amount of data from our production right from the scratch. So everything that we put inside was the operator, preparing the machines, um, which kind of tests they pass or they fail. If they fail, if they were the PCB were worked or not, and all this kind of data, they are collected inside our server, which by the way are on site. So we keep everything safe, under the radar. And then the customer can really enter inside the platform and see all this kind of data. So where we are, if you are in production, if you are already shipped the products and things like that. So I think another point to add to this conversation to the transparency, with the customer, we let them see what we are doing actually, if there's some problem, if not, and many all the different level of for the production step by step. So also they are, I would say, safer in explaining also to their final customers. They are, a B2B, what happened there, right? In why these projects are not working correctly and things like that. And yeah, this is another thing where we help, the customer experience to be closer and closer to the customer.
So, this is so important to the business. What are the kind of things that you do? You got to protect a company culture, right? You got to work at a company culture. If you don't, it just kind of evolves on its own, and it is what it is, right? But it's this important. Like, what do you do internally, right, to maintain the culture that you have and this competitive advantage that you have?
Yeah, so I would say that we start right from the hiring process. A lot of, let's say, green lights for new people, to select them and to check which one can be, good for our, private garden and which is not. And of course, this is not only in regards with their experience. Of course, you have, if you are hiring a mechanical engineer, they should have, studied mechanical engineering and have some experience with that. But it's also, on the way the people is behaving, the soft skills, let's say, soft aspects of the character, And we have a very specific profile um, for each persona, inside the company, and which is really, a sort of marketing, concept about your persona, thing like that. And so really, if we start from there. So we try to also understand if the person can go inside. After that, if it's successful, let's say, we do the presentation of the company. So we let them visit our company, explain our story. Also, as I said, we are 50 years old company, so there is plenty to tell about there. And so yeah, we try really to help the new people, the new staff, get the feeling of the company, not only what we are doing today, of course, advancement, AI, whatever, but what's the story, the whole picture of the company, what we represent, and also our culture, and we align, let's say, to the Swissness, of the company. And beside that, we do regular meeting. Actually, as I said, the owner is regularly in the production sites, in the engineering sites, and this is very important, because there are plenty of meetings and presentation also very small stuff like, "Hey, how are you? Can you tell me more about what you're doing?" Things like that. And I think it's very important because it's a big difference, right, with other big corporation. And we actually, I would say that uh, we work with big, customers, but we play as small, startups in a certain way. And a lot of people might claim that they're a big family, but I think in our case it's a bit true. It's more true, actually. It's truer.
It's interesting because we all have to evolve in our companies, and technology is one of those things that comes in, right? It comes into the production line, it comes into the operations, it comes into how we communicate, it comes in everywhere. How do you balance the people or the culture in these technology shifts? Like, how do you strike that balance?
Yeah, so basically, one thing actually that I learned when I joined Adobe, that is software as a service company. So it's the people versus the technology is very a big thing there. Is that actually technology is only, in the end of the day, is only a tool. Every machine, everything, also large language models is like ChatGPTs. They are just tools. And it's very important that you, as I mentioned before, build this kind of culture, because of course you cannot check everything, you cannot be at the same time on every computer desk and so on. And that's very important to have this culture transfer, let's say. After that, we of course select some tools which help us, in being better in what we are doing. Also the data management things, for instance, comes from a very big company in Germany. So, we have we try to work with the best software and technologies out there. Um, what is very important, of course, is to choose the partners that share a bit your vision of excellence, of quality, of being closer to the customer and so on. But in the end of the day, all the things that I mentioned before, so this culture transfer, this trying to make people understand that we are a family-owned company. We care about our customers and our business and our suppliers, and also other people inside the company, right? It's the secret, I would say.
So there's so much that we've talked about here, but what haven't we talked about? Like, what are the things that, in terms of culture and its impact on the business and your competitive advantage, what else haven't I asked that right is an important part of this discussion that you want to bring up?
Yeah, probably I will say that what I would like to just result a bit the point of being in this camp, right? Because historically Switzerland has been a partner for everyone, neutral during wars, and we know all the history and so on. And one fun fact is that Switzerland has actually 3 to 4 official languages. And so it's really embedded, I would say, if I can bring up a term from engineering, this kind of culture of openness, of taking care of others, of respecting others, and being perfectly polite and things like that, right? And this is already, I would say, a big competitive advantage because it translates, as I said, in our culture, in our Swissness. But in more concrete terms, we speak many different languages, or English, French, German, Italian, and things like that. So, it's very easy to do business with us, and we are in the center of Europe. So basically, we have very good airport and transportation and things like that, right? So, in the end of the day, it's not only what we're saying as culture, but it's also the country, which allows and help a company like us to to flourish and to be the way we are, basically, right? And it's, if you think about Asian countries, I mean, of course, if you are a very big, brand like, I don't know, Apple and so on, it's very easy to have conversation there. But if you're a bit smaller, still it's very difficult. There are a lot of barriers and things like that, right? And this is a very, particular things that many people might not, have in their mind, but it's quite interesting, I would say. It's something unique for our company for sure, but any companies with some probably has this kind of openness and caring about different opinions, and things like that, right? Because we have to learn at school, different languages, different cantons, and so on. So it's a strange country, and
But there's a lesson I think to be learned for all of us here, because the one thing that was I thought the most important for what you just said there is it's easy to work with us, right? You tie that back into CX is the number one competitive advantage, right? That's the customer experience. If the customer experience is just easy to work with us, right? And absolutely you have to have the right high quality manufacturing lines and output and production and everything. But if you took away the easy to work with us, right? Then how, that's a massive part of the competitive advantage that you offer. And being in Switzerland and just coming from a mesh of different languages and cultures and different things like that, you have to be easy to work with a number of different outside, companies and partners. We don't think necessarily that way in the United States, right? We kind of think that we're the center of the world, right? But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're thinking in the way of how is it just easy to work with us? And how do I make it easy to work for us and want to work for us? Because that will turn into that competitive advantage. So here's where I have another question for you, which is based on all of this and all of your work at the startups and crypto or Adobe and here, what are you the most proud of that you've been able to accomplish in your career as it relates to what we've been talking about here today?
yeah. So I think that the thing that I'm most proud probably is really to um, build a career where I can, let's say, mix and match all my passion. I think, as I said at the beginning, I'm not probably interested, in technology stuff, math and things like that. Um, but this company in particular, and throughout my career, I really have the opportunity to work, in the advantage, in new technologies and things like that, and high tech things, which give me on one side, of course, the possibility to learn new skills and be, on the edge, as a competitive advantage on my, let's say, CV and experience. But at the same time, I think I'm kind of more, this way, let's say, that I like to be in very competitive companies, their new technology and things like that. And so I would say that the thing I'm most proud of is really, to have this kind of flow, So blockchain, very new technology. I remember when we were in Adobe, we were already speaking, was 2016, 2017, we were already speaking about AI, things like that. So of course it was a very long time ago now, and almost 20 years, and 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 so yeah, probably this is the thing, to really also find a bit personally, and and being able to tell to people, this kind of equilibrium, between, as you spoke, right, 5 minutes ago, between people and technology, and so yeah, this is what I'm most proud of, and probably I will, probably in 5, 10 years, I will give you a different answer, because I will probably see something new, right? So this is, yeah.
Well, so I've got one last question for you. And that is because we've talked about so much in our human brains, we can only retain about two or three things at a time. If you were to say to the audience here, what's the one thing that I want you to be able to take away from today's podcast, what would that be?
Yeah, I will answer count to us, but this is just a joke, of course. No, I think that the most important thing that we can take from this interview is really that in the end of the day, it's really important to choose the right culture before the company, before the brand, before everything. And that, when you find it, in the end of the day, everything will, be in place, automatically, I would say. If you just, don't care about this or you don't see this in advance, probably you have some trouble. So I think it's very important in any case, as customers, suppliers, as employers, whatever, to really set up for your culture. Which there is no right answer. You can be a culture in one way or the other. It doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you try to find the balance with your own let's say culture and the culture of the partner you are you know um, you're in contact with basically. Yeah.
Well, here's one thing that I know for sure people are going to have questions. And if they do, is it appropriate that I give out a link to your LinkedIn profile that they could reach out?
Sure, sure. I think I will be more than happy to answer all the questions.
Fantastic. Well, our goal here with the podcast is to bring different perspectives for different things that impact our ability to create long-term sustainable growth in our business. And I think the idea of bringing up the importance of culture and why and how it impacts your business. And I loved the way that you put it, just it makes it easy, right, to do business with
Mhm.
us. That's my main takeaway from the podcast today is that we need to make sure that we're creating that culture that attracts the right people, but does the right things in terms of creating a business that's high quality, that people love to be at, that makes it easy to do business with us. That's my takeaway. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for coming on and doing everything you did here today.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for the invitation, and I hope that it was interesting for the audience to learn more about our small country.